Jamie, pull it up.
Oh, I gotta add the pics. Where's you? Oh.
You got us up?
Wait a minute.
Hit it back.
Yeah, yours is just a Skype, like a blank Skype screen. You see that?
Ah, damn! You didn't call me onto the thing, did you? Ah.
What do you mean?
You gotta call me onto the thing so that way I can join it.
Yeah, you called me.
Yeah, you have to call. You have to call me on the video.
All right, hang up.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Are we good?
Yeah, there we go.
All right.
Cool. What's going on?
Oh, well, we got.
So America's really having a day, huh? America's really on one today,
like
Tony, huh?
Seems like it. Seems like it, bro.
I need to work on my annoying lib voice.
Well, we got a few things to go over today. Guess the best place to start, since he's doing everything to merit it, is with our dear president.
They don't call him Donnie Deals for nothing, man.
I guess, is that the mindset here? Because the one thing is when you're doing business deals is you always have to have that walk away mentality.
Yeah.
I guess, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or is he kind of resigned to his fate that he's gonna lose? Do you think he knows he's gonna lose now?
No, I don't think that. I think it's I think that's what like the chuds in Congress think. I think the Republican congressmen are planning for the future without him, right? I think he is just fucked up. I think he's high. I think he's like. I'm serious, man. I'm dead serious. Because
a little bit later, but AOC brought that up on.
Yeah, exactly.
She went on Mad Out today.
I think she's right. I think that like when you get high as shit like that, you like, you get like ornery and you get like, fuck it, man, I don't care. Like you get really.
That was one of the side effects from that one steroid apparently that he's on. It's called I used to be on this actually because I'm asthmatic and everything. It's called the dexamethasone. It's a steroid, and apparently one of the side effects from it is intense delusions of grandeur.
Yeah, well, there's nothing new there.
I mean, when we put it out, we asked the obvious question: is how would we know?
Wrong.
Suffering from that.
Yeah.
But there was a few things actually that I think were considered side effects of that particular medication. Let's see if I can find where I had the article before. Like the one thing I didn't bookmark was that was that damn medication on here.
I don't think so.
I wish you could hear the sound effects, bro.
Yeah, me too, but it's cool.
That one doesn't really fit.
Oh, the conspiracy thing?
Yeah, how'd you know it? You did hear it.
Yeah, I can hear it through your mic a little bit.
Oh.
So, yeah, so where is this thing? Man, I can't find it now. Really can't find this thing. Let's see, Trump.
buy our
here we go.
merch.
He's here we go. Trump roid rage is essentially what it says. So, he put out a bunch of these different tweets, as we've seen since he's been back at the White House. We caught him and he was really short of breath. Apparently, from the look of the video, that's what the situation was, and it's not a thing you want to be worrying about when you're having to pass these bills to get people help during the pandemic. And if he is some kind of, there's reason to think that he's unstable because he is on medication. Has a pretty aggressive type personality as it is when it comes to these things. He makes a bunch of shall we say, spontaneous bad decisions.
Yeah, man, it's fucking dumb. Like, he's like destructive. Like when I think he's high, right? So like, he's in a point where it's like, burn it all down. Like, I don't give a fuck. Like, take my ball and go home. I feel like that's the stage he's in now. He's seeing those polls, and he's like, what? He doesn't know what to do. Like. Mm-hmm. And I think he did the exact wrong thing, right? Like, the answer is to do more good things, not more bad things, right? Like, he's trying to, like, grab hold of some sort of culture war issue and try to make that the story, right?
Well, since Trump has done his whole Biden is a socialist tactic, Biden's favorables have gone up.
Yeah, well, that's not why.
Well, I don't know, because, Kyle made a really good point about that. On his show, where he said that the people who would be against him being socialist don't believe it, and the people that would believe it kind of look at it as a positive. So either way, it's a net positive.
So the people that do believe it, what was the first part?
The people that don't believe that he's a socialist, or the people that are hearing that argument that he's a socialist don't believe it. If they're against socialism, they don't believe it. If they are in favor of socialism, then they look at it as a positive about Biden.
I still don't get. So the Chuds, right?
Yeah.
His base.
But the Chuds are going to vote for him. So I'm talking about like Biden.
All right. So the 60% of the country that's not Republican, like, of them, there's the left who don't believe it.
Right.
There's the liberals.
Don't believe it.
I think he's trying to turn off liberals. That's what he's doing that for.
Yeah, but the liberals don't believe that he's a socialist. Who does? Even the socialists don't believe he's
low information voters, man. Like, exactly. I'm thinking of like your boomer uncle who like works and like watches sports and doesn't really pay attention to politics. Like, if he tunes in once in a while and he voted for Obama and then he might have voted for Trump and whatever, like those people.
Right.
He hears that, like, I could see him being confused, sort of, and like, first of all, I think a lot of older voters don't really understand what socialism is. They just know it's bad.
Yeah, they just hear that it's some kind of bad word that gets floated around, so they don't really notice.
The thing is, it could be effective. I just don't think it is because he's so bad. Like, if he was just, if he was Mitt Romney who was just running the country, standard Republican style, but not like scorched earth bad, because he's really bad. Right. Like, this pandemic response was just historically bad. So I think in that situation, like, it's you could be turned off. Like, if all things being equal, and you hear the one guy might be a socialist, that might flip the coin, right? But there's just so many negatives counting him down that something Trump like that. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter.
And the main thing with these negatives, it's they're real impactful negatives where people have lost jobs, people have lost healthcare, people are having to deal with all the crap that comes along with the pandemic.
Yeah. So you blame the guy who did it.
Just to backtrack on the symptoms about this drug that apparently Trump is on, it includes mental problems such as aggression, agitation, and anxiety. So it's a dexamethasone is a steroid designed to suppress the immune system to prevent the release of substances that can trigger inflammation. The drug was found to benefit critically ill patients in trials in the UK, raising questions about the severity of the president's condition. The cheap common medication is used to treat inflammatory conditions including ulcerative colitis, arthritis, lupus, psoriasis, and breathing disorders. So some of the more common side effects that affect the a patient's mental state are aggression, agitation, anxiety, irritability, depression, changes to mood, and nervousness.
Yeah, didn't you already say that?
Trouble thinking or speaking or walking can also likewise occur, and other side effects including blurred vision, producing less urine, dizziness, and irregular heartbeat, pulse, headaches, and noisy breathing. So this is what this dude is on. He's probably still taking it intravenously, right?
You think?
So, yeah, probably. They probably have a whole setup for him at the White House to go. Be on an IV taking all this stuff.
Yeah, but I don't think he's sitting in his hospital bed all day. I think he's probably on the couch watching TV.
Yeah, with a freaking needle in his arm, more than likely.
Well, regardless, that doesn't really matter. I just think he's on a strong dosage. He's probably on like painkillers and shit too. Right? He's fucked up.
Right, of course. He's drugged up to no end.
That's what I'm saying.
I wouldn't doubt it.
But the part about that's interesting is the anxiety and that. What was the other part? The
agitation and nervousness.
Yeah, I feel like the way that kind of high works is like it comes in waves. Right? So he'll feel good for a little bit, and then when his dose starts to wear off a little bit, that's when the anxiety and nervousness kicks in. So he was probably balls to the wall, like, fuck you, we're not doing a stimulus, I'm going to fucking sit here and, like, I'm going to fucking get high with my friends, and I'm going to win that race, and you're going to let me win that race, motherfuckers. And then when it starts to wear off, he's like, oh shit, what did I do? So you get this tweet like... If I am sent a standalone bill for stimulus checks, $1,200, they will go out to our great people immediately. I am ready to sign right now. Are you listening, Nancy? Whoa.
Oh, yeah.
That's bold.
Pull up that tweet so you can get it.
He tagged Mark Meadows, Mitch McConnell.
Kevin McCarthy, which is the House Minority Leader. Nancy Pelosi and Senator Chuck Schumer is a minority leader in the Senate.
I think the thing is, though, I think those guys have given up on him, right? Like
you're talking about the judges that are
the congressional Republicans. I don't think. I don't.
You feel like right now, when they see this poll, like you see, get that poll up the CNN.
Can you see it? Kyle's tweet's on there now.
Yeah. Remember, I have to go. I'm on the live stream, so I can't see what you put. Remember, so. But as long as you can see it,
you can see it. It's on there now. If I am sent a standalone bill for $1,200 for stimulus checks, they will go out to our great people immediately. That's what the replies look like. I don't see any good ones.
I thought I saw one that made me laugh though.
Do you ever listen to Minion Death Cult? I really like those guys.
No, I never.
They like go through all like the crazy Facebook groups for like, blue and red MAGA, depending on like the stories that week. Like sometimes they'll troll like, comments for, like dumb liberal stuff, and other times they'll do like, done like right wing stuff. It's really funny. But last night's episode was really funny.
Well, there's this one response I did like to that tweet where the first one is the United States does not negotiate with terrorists.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I know. But
we should have retweeted that.
Let's see. Pull up the CNN poll that we got there on the bookmarks.
Is anybody watching, by the way? No.
I'm not sure. Whoever's here, we thank you for joining us. If not, you catch us on the replay, and we appreciate you checking out our show then.
How would we know? Cuties. Bo the Fifth Cone. What's that dude's deal, man? I can't vibe with that dude. Kyle is AOC. what an anti-everybody agenda looks like? The president and GOP are walking away from getting any COVID stimulus relief done, effectively endangering millions. After all, they themselves got COVID and enjoyed free socialized health care. So they can push through an anti-ACA SCOTUS pick. Do I sound like her?
I don't know. I don't have a practiced AOC voice, but
what an anti-everybody agenda looks like. The president and GOP are walking away from getting any COVID stimulus relief done. Yeah.
I don't think so.
I got a hotkey for it.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
But let's see. Go to the polling really fast, though. You can get that up.
Indivisible. Meadowbug. Pac-Man. Humanist Report. That was funny. Did you see that Tulsi unfollowed him?
Yeah, we'll get into that right now when we go over the whole Tulsi deal with AOC.
Wait a little bit. What did Elon say? Oh, shit. The only logical response to this fuckery is to vote them out, not by analyzing their cruelty, inaction, and irresponsible politics. It's about power, and the people need to reclaim that power on November 3rd.
Yeah, so that was a response to that same Trump tweet.
That's from her official account. She says fuckery.
Yep, gotta hand that one to Ilhan.
Yeah, man.
Ilhan Omar's a real one.
Yeah. Biden leads by 21 points among seniors.
That's the one.
17 points among 30.
Get the graphic up. You can see the lead, so I can read this off. Yeah. So Biden, he leads 21 points among seniors. Among ages 35 to 49, he's up 17 points. Under 35, he's up 33 points. The only demographic Trump is leading in this poll is men with no college degree. And 57%
Where are you seeing
of the
this
debate
graphic?
watchers.
This graphic I see just has 57-41.
Yeah, I researched all this stuff, bro.
I mean, it's the one below it. Okay.
Yeah, so then on the issues of race, Biden is favored 62-36. COVID, Biden 59-38. Healthcare 59-39. The Supreme Court 57-41. Remember, that was a big issue for why people voted for Trump last time. Law and order. The law and order president is losing to Biden 55-43. And finally, the economy. This was a big one. Biden is winning on issues of the economy by 2 points.
Yeah. Well, like, that's the thing. There's nothing going for Trump anymore. Like, now he's, like, all fucked up. He can't even, like, own the libs properly. You know? Like,
right.
He's just a weak old man.
People are tired of his shit.
Yeah.
But, just a point of comparison was Hillary's lead at this time in 2016 was about 4.5% in comparison to the 16-point lead that that Biden now has over.
Well, wait a minute. Is that the average though? I thought the average was more like 7 or 8.
No, at this time though, I think it was just this one poll that was pulled up. But I remember I researched this stuff beforehand, so I got the numbers right. But I mean, are you thinking
up
that he's
by
done?
16 on average?
No,
16 was the highest. That was the biggest lead I saw him. Yeah.
Right. No, I'm not saying the average. The average right now is lower than the 16 points, but with him having a 16-point deficit in this poll and then a 14-point deficit in the NBC poll.
Yeah.
Are you thinking that this is done already?
No. Like, I don't know. Like, I would never say it's done because shit could change. Like, you know, a scandal could come out tomorrow about Biden. I mean, have to be something. You have to have like dead babies in his basement or something. But like, and even then, there'd be a lot of libs who would still vote for him. And Trump could fix shit. Like, he could write everybody a check tomorrow and do some sort of nationalized healthcare, some sort of temporary measure. Like, that's the thing with him, is you can't predict it when he's going to do what he's going to do. Like, a regular Republican, you'd be like, okay, he's not doing anything, this is done. But him, like, you saw how erratic he is. Like, he could start war with Mexico tomorrow. He could fucking, like, off himself. Like, there's so many, he could do public execution. None of that shit would surprise me. Like.
Well, I mean, just just for my astute analysis, I think if he offs himself, that's probably a detriment to the electoral chances.
Yeah, I don't know what he's gonna do, man.
But okay, so
he could still die too. That's the other thing. I think he's still dying of COVID.
Yeah, he's still not out of the woods.
Not
he
even
went against
close,
medical advice,
man.
more than likely.
Did you see that Herman Cain thing we looked at last night? It took Herman Cain a month.
Yeah, and he just keeled over.
And
one
the
day
whole
and
time,
like, what the hell?
Yeah, and the whole time he's like, "I'm doing great, guys. I'm doing awesome. I'm gonna go to this rally."
The same thing that Trump is doing now. Yeah. He's like, "Oh, I'm great. I feel better than I have in 20 years."
Yeah, exactly.
That's what we're gonna wake up to one day. We're gonna wake up one day and this dude's gonna be dead, and we're gonna just be like, "Wow."
Well, it's better to burn out than to fade away, right?
No, but I still think that if it happened, that we'd all be shocked. It'd be like a state of shock just because of, we haven't seen a president die in office in our lifetimes. But
I mean,
he's been catching some major flack though.
I wouldn't be
for
shocked.
Leading and for his antics. So there was an article. I have that bookmark too from The Hill, from the secret service agents that from criticizing Trump's little joyride that he took while he was at the hospital. They said something like that should never have happened. There's multiple Secret Service agents that are criticizing President Trump's brief appearance in the SUV outside of the medical center. And they're accusing the president of putting his protective detail in unnecessary danger. And he's not even pretending to care now. An agent who requested anonymity told the Washington Post, "It should never have happened," another unidentified agent said.
That kind of stuff
frustration with how we're treated when it comes to decisions on this illness goes back before this, though. We're not disposable.
I mean, that kind of stuff doesn't really matter, though, right? Like,
well, I've watched the news today, and it's ridiculous to say that the president is trying to kill off his detail. The agent told CNN, "He is unconventional, but we get the job done."
Yeah.
The White House has defended the safety of the president's short trip outside the hospital. Spokesman Judd Deere said Sunday that the appropriate precautions were taken in the execution of this movement to protect the president and all those supporting it.
Yeah.
So, just the reason why the whole car ride thing is such a big deal is not just because, of course, Trump is positive. People are there. If you looked at the video, the agents are basically wearing hazmat suits, but the attending physician for Walter Reed also had a comment about the vehicle specifically, which was the presidential SUV is not only bulletproof, it's hermetically sealed against chemical attack.
Yeah.
So the risk of contracting COVID inside is as high as it gets outside of medical procedures. The irresponsibility is astounding. My thoughts are with Secret Service forced to play, or with the Secret Service forced to play. Yeah. Tweeted James Phillips, who is also chief of disaster medicine at George Washington University. So every person in that vehicle during that completely unnecessary presidential drive-by just now has to be quarantined for 14 days. They can get sick, they can die, and it's all for political theater.
It's so wasteful too. Like, they're gonna have to pay their salary, like, just in terms of like any kind of like responsibility thing. It's like you have to pay these guys like 2 weeks worth of work to sit and watch TV because you wanted to go on a joyride. Like, it's just, in a normal election, that would be the kind of thing you could hit somebody on. Like, you're wasting government salary. Like, that is the kind of thing, like, I feel like they ran against Obama with stuff like that, right? Like, you spent this amount of money on catering. And they were trying to do that for him. Remember the $70K on his hair products or whatever? Like, those kind of things don't really matter, though, right? What matters is the economy and the public health response. It's been a disaster, and it's 90% of the fault is at his feet. Like, not that they would have done anything more legislatively. I feel like maybe they would have done one more round, something like that. But they wouldn't have done any kind of nationalized health care or anything like that, no matter if Hillary was president. Like, they would have been a little bit better, but the thing that they would have been better is just like the masks and the sort of like the attitude, right? Like, that's where he's just been an abject failure, and it's just, the people who are in the bubble, right? Mm-hmm. But everybody on the outside of that bubble thinks they look like fucking psychos. Like, on Rising this morning, they mentioned it too. Mm-hmm. It's like 80% of the country is pro-mask. Like, a very small segment of the country is anti-mask. They even
guessed that it was about 90% of the country's pro-mask.
I think he said 90% in urban, and then 80% in the suburbs, and then a little bit lower in the country.
Sager's a bright winger, and he said it. There's no reason for masks to be a political issue in the first place. Yeah. So what he did essentially was hand Democrats a winning issue.
Yeah, that's so fucking dumb. Like,
so stupid.
That seriously might have been enough to sway it too. Like, that's probably worth a good 5 points of his deficit at least, if not more. Right?
So the good news kept coming for Trump because apparently his own medium turned against him. So Twitter locked out Trump's account after he doxed New York Post columnist. He went ahead and he shared a New York Post columnist email.
Why did he do that?
And Twitter went ahead and locked President Trump's account on Monday after the commander-in-chief violated the company's policies by sharing the email address of this New York Post columnist, and
epically owned.
Yeah, so he said that. Well, the article says that the social media giant confirmed to the Daily News on Tuesday that the coronavirus-stricken president's account was locked until the post was ended up being removed. So the post here had it just stated on there that the tweet is no longer available because it violated Twitter rules. And then his next visible tweet after that was, "We'll be back on the campaign trail soon." And following that, the next piece of good news that we got that he ended up receiving was one of his inner circle went ahead and came down with COVID, and it couldn't have happened to a better person than Stephen Miller.
Yeah, our boy Stevie.
Dude, was that one of the ones on your list that you were hoping got?
I mean, I didn't think about him, but I mean, yeah, if I had thought about it.
Yeah, so
I fucked up the thing.
I don't think a lot of people, what's up?
Hold on. Oh, I'm sorry. Picture in picture, I think. What did I do?
Did you close this?
I think I have it stuck on the browser mode, and it's not on us.
You gotta press that camera button to flip us back around.
There we go.
Yeah. So, so a lot of people, when Trump got sick, the first, a lot of the sentiment was not to be like completely wishing for death, even though there were a lot of people that were. My co-host here is one of them. Yeah. But when it came to Stephen Miller, you didn't really see that. It was kind of just like, fuck that guy. Just because I guess he's such a ghoul, and everybody that knows enough politics and know who Stephen Miller is.
There's no fucking way he should still have his job. Like, he should have gotten fired when those emails came out. Remember what he was doing? So, like, he was like forwarding articles to Breitbart and asking them to like boost certain narratives he wanted to boost, but they were like the most hateful racist shit. It was like it was like black on black crime kind of stuff, right? Like, what else was it? There was I can't remember what it was. There was a certain story he wanted them to cover, maybe about like I don't remember, but it was pretty much like the most depraved racist shit you could imagine. And that's this guy's thing. He's like sending articles to the editor of Breitbart asking them to, follow this story put more stories about that. And like, all the inhumane ICE border detention stuff that originates from his office too.
Right. That's exactly where it originates from, is with that dude.
He's pretty much the worst guy, and
yeah,
I mean,
he's like in his. There was something that I saw that he was like in his 30s or something.
Yeah, he's
he
like
looks
my
like
age.
He's just a ghoul.
Yeah, and he looks like he's 50. Yeah, man.
Yeah,
Being
it's
evil ages
ridiculous.
you.
I mean,
Everyone knows that.
Yeah, that's the only explanation I could have thought of, really, just by looking at what happened with this dude. But there's a tweet that I went and pinned up by that dude that you're talking about, that Bo the Fifth column, where he got a response from this inbox that said, "I'm disappointed. You said no human deserves COVID. Why are you celebrating Stephen Miller getting it?"
Yeah.
And he's responded by, I don't see how these things relate.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you're looking at somebody that got it, probably deserves this, is now going to put people over 30. I mean, the number over 30. So the White House cluster, the Trump outbreak that originated at that Rose Garden SCOTUS event, now has over 30 people infected. But I will tell you, the only 2 people that I do feel bad that got sick because of it.
Who?
So
Melania?
There were two White House maintenance cleaners, or I guess they're housekeepers, that also came down with COVID.
Oh, fuck. Yeah. They mentioned that. I was listening on the way home from the store last night. They had, there was like a BBC program. It was like, I don't know if it was like the full broadcast or they just did like a segment on the NPR, but they mentioned that there was like 290 like domestic staff that cook and clean and shit like that, and like mostly like old black ladies, and they're having to serve this psycho who's obviously not wearing a mask around the house. He's gonna get more of them sick, man. He's a fucking, like, I don't see how, like, that to me is enough argument for why it's completely legitimate to wish death on him. Like, it's like an active shooter, is the way I'm looking at it. Like, he's walking around, everything he does is killing more people, and he's doing it largely on purpose. Like, there's no...
Right. And the stimulus thing, it's gonna hurt a lot of people.
Yeah, I'm sure it already is. Like, that's a lot harder to quantify, but like...
waiting for $1,200, for more than $1,200 for months. And like AOC went and talked about this. You pull up those couple of videos that I bookmarked up on the feed there too.
It's just fucked up that anybody would think this is okay. It's like, just compared to how every other country played it, like, it's unbelievable. Which one? Are these the same video?
No, they're 2 different videos, so you could play one.
Which one's first?
Just go from the bottom to the top. There we go.
Of the severe economic and health fallout that is to come. We are on the brink of an eviction crisis, a mass eviction crisis here in our district, but also across the country. 30 to 40 million people are at risk of being evicted because the president has decided to walk away from every working person in this country. Now, that's before we even get to mortgages. It's before we get to unemployment extension. It's before we get to a second stimulus check. In addition, just as we're entering the fall, we are at risk of a second spike. And what we are seeing here in New York City, which is a city that has some of the strictest COVID guidelines and some of the highest rates of mask wearing adherence in the country, we are still starting to experience areas where there's kind of a second spike. 9 zip codes in New York City are at risk of being shut down totally or partially due to a secondary fall wave. Now, if we decide, and if the president and the GOP follow through with walking away from COVID relief, we are staring down the barrel at one of the largest mass eviction crises in the history of this country since the Great Depression. That's what we're looking at. We're looking at a potential second wave that could be catastrophic. We are looking at the potential of hunger in the United States exploding on a level that we have never seen since the Great Depression. And all of it is preventable. All of it. All we need to do is authorize a second stimulus check. We need to make sure that we get state and local funding so that municipal governments can stay above water at least through the end of the year. We need to make sure that we are funding large-scale testing and tracing programs, and we need to make sure that we're really developing a vaccine responsibly and not pushing one out for the sake of an election.
She shouldn't have said that last part.
All right. Well, this brings us back to the front.
Democrats should just stop talking about the vaccine. Like, there's no good that's going to come of them mentioning it at all. Like, it's not like it's irresponsible. You're not harming people by not talking about it. It's just a strategic decision. They should just not talk about it. If Trump talks about it, they can mention it, but like, it's unlikely it's going to be around before the election, right? It's unlikely it's going to be around before the new administration takes over. Right. There's literally no reason for them to talk about it. I mean, I guess she was referring to she wants R&D money for pharma companies, maybe.
Did you bring us back to the front already?
What do you mean? I'm staring at the camera. Next one. You want to watch the next video, or do you want to talk about that one?
Yeah, you know what? Let's watch the second one first. We got a comment though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there we go. To wish Trump's health gets better is to knowingly promote more death, so I ain't going to be sad.
Wish Trump's health gets better is to know. Yeah, Huffin, that's what I just said, man. Like, it's like an active shooter on the prowl, right? Like, he's infecting more people physically, right, just by being in contact with them. And then how many people are suffering and eventually dying just from his inability to respond to the pandemic? Like, he deserves it, man. There's very few people on the earth that I can as confidently say deserve it as much as him, right? Like, I don't think that's out of line at all. You know, him and Stephen Miller.
Roll that second clip up then.
Also, he's fucking high as shit. He should...
Epicenter.
Well, I think that's the point she makes in this next clip.
Well, exactly. That reminds me of what Rogan always says, right? Rogan always talks about how the president is too much power for one man, right? Like, this is why that kind of rings true for me now, because there's no way that this guy, first of all, even if he was like, you know, smart as shit and competent and good at his job, there's too much shit going on for one dude to be, you know, on top of all of it, especially when it's a guy like this who's such a psycho that he's like, you know, so emotional, right? Like you know, he's on one, right? So he's like not doing his responsibilities. There's too much power, too much risk to have one person be able to just exert all that control.
Yes. Is it just stuck on Maddow?
Joining us now live is Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez of the great state of New York. Her district does include portions of the Bronx and Queens. It's been called the epicenter of the epicenter when it comes to COVID, one of the hardest hit in the nation. Congresswoman, it's really nice to see you. Thanks for making time tonight.
Of course, thank you for having me.
I've seen some of your initial reaction online to this decision by the president that there will be no COVID-related help to the American people
we got to
at all
apologize
the
in
election.
advance for putting out Maddow, but it's just, you know, AOC was on there and she was actually making some pretty decent points.
Been so hard hit. What do you think the impact of this decision will be?
Well, you know, I think New York's 14th congressional district is really a microcosm for the entire country. And we're also a bellwether. Whenever the country is about to go through something incredibly traumatic and severe, it often hits my district first. We saw this with COVID and the pandemic. Our district was hit heaviest and hardest first before the waves started echoing across the nation in terms of COVID cases spiking. And we're already starting to see warning signs of the severe economic and health fallout that is to come. We are on the brink of an eviction crisis, a mass eviction crisis here in our district, but also across the country. 30 to 40 million people are at risk of being evicted because the president has decided to walk away from every working person in this country.
Can we share this whole
that's
clip?
Before we even get to mortgages,
This is
it's
long.
before we get to
like we're getting in trouble
unemployment
for this.
extension, it's before we
Well,
get
yeah,
to
just
another
cut it off,
a
and we
second
could flip it
stimulus
back
check.
around.
In addition, just as we're entering the fall, we are at risk of a second spike. And what we are seeing here in New York City, which
We saw this part already.
shut
All
down
right, yeah.
I want to see the part where she talks
funding
about
so
him
that
being high,
municipal
though.
governments can stay above water.
I don't know what she talked
of it.
about.
It's strange to me, and I don't understand it. It makes me watch for a potential reversal here or some sort of move behind the curtain that we're not expecting. I wanted to ask
agree
you,
with
though, how do you
Neto,
think
but
this interacts with the president being diagnosed and with what appears to be a large White House cluster and all of these people in Republican politics and the upper echelons of the White House
she just asked
testing
her.
positive? That just seems like one other element of this that makes this decision almost unbelievable, let alone a surprise.
It is unbelievable. And on one hand, I think that they're just kind of drinking their own Kool-Aid. They really started to believe that masks didn't matter, that rapid tests, which we had known were less effective, were acceptable before a mass super spreading event. They didn't even they didn't even put those seats 6 feet apart outside. And so there's a certain just basic denial of science and a lack of acceptance of science that we're looking at. But, additionally, the president is not in a good condition.
He's not.
He just was diagnosed with COVID. His oxygen levels were in perilously low areas over the weekend that were extremely concerning.
She should step up to the plate and say 25th Amendment.
Now, when we were receiving conflicting medical reports from both the White House,
can they
Chief
put
of
it?
Staff
Are you on
Mark
mute?
Meadows, and some of the physicians that were.
Come back to us.
All right.
I mean, I don't remember. I remember the libs were talking about that for a while, but I don't remember any politicians saying it, right?
What, like an actual? What do you mean, like a congressperson?
Yeah, did Chuck Schumer say 25th Amendment at any point in Trump's time?
I'm not sure. I know there was a thing going around for a good while.
Yeah,
right.
Early on, before Mueller was done.
But I mean, this actually is a better point for
it. No, it's legitimate now.
He's on medication. He's suffering from a deadly illness.
Don't let him do a coup, Mike. Mike, don't let him coup me. I don't want to go out like Stan Guerra.
We got another comment from Mr. Huffin here. Since we don't have a very active chat, everybody gets their comments read. So I see 3 of you in there, so feel free to comment. But American exceptionalism has been weaved into our culture to the point most are unaware of the impact that it has had on our society. Liberals will fight the problematic ways this socializing has caused.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a way that we're educated in this country that preaches American exceptionalism. You learn a version of history that highlights all the
patriotic history, Tony.
Yes, it very much is that.
Where they teach you that Americans are racist. That's not history.
No, I mean, one of the major points of learning it, if you take any kind of history course, you learn about manifest destiny.
Yeah.
Right, and it was our great triumph over a continent to extend this nation from sea to shining sea and all that.
Mm-hmm.
What it was is we just drove a bunch of indigenous populations off of their land and
genocide.
Forced them into reservations.
Yeah,
that's what we did to them. And
but I've seen right wingers make that argument and been well, they won a war, or whatever, right?
Yeah,
and
you see how that's worse, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was gonna say. That's
it's like
that's
I don't
worse
know if
than
you've ever
then.
seen that show, The Good Place.
Yeah.
It's like you see that's worse. You do see how that's worse, right?
Well, like, yeah. Instead of it, stupidly allowing a genocide to happen because of them showing up, they actively went out of their way to do it. I think, yeah, man. They did. I feel like I got lucky with my history classes and stuff because my teachers were. I mean, I don't know. I lived a couple of different places, so I had like some teachers who were like pretty based, and some who were, not as much. But I got, like I feel like it was pretty fair. Like we covered a lot of negative stuff too, and like I went to school. I lived in Atlanta, and we studied the Civil War pretty good. Like we didn't, warts and all. But I feel like it's gotten worse.
So how do you? Yeah, I mean, how were you taught the Civil War over in Atlanta?
Pretty accurately. I feel like, like this is what the South said they were doing, but really they were just doing this, and this is what the North said they were doing, but really they were doing that.
Yeah. So over here in Texas, we got kind of that states' rights education.
Yeah, they said that they were like, they talked about John C. Calhoun and states' rights, but like they were honest that was bullshit. That was a facade,
Yeah, that's not the way we got it.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that you didn't get that over there in Atlanta too,
yeah.
being in Georgia. But over here in Texas, even out here in our neck of the woods in Texas, we have certain historical monuments that are from Confederate generals out here too, funny enough, even as isolated as we are. But
Texas actually does have a cool legacy of states' rights, though, right? Because it was a country. So, like, if anybody gets to make that argument, it's Texas. Maybe California, Alaska.
Well, I mean, we don't. Well, usually on Thursdays is our history segment, but we'll go ahead and talk about some of this stuff a little bit. But with Texas, what happened with the country of Texas, which with precedes the state and everything, a lot of failed politicians, a lot of people that were trying to go ahead and make a better opportunity in Texas because they weren't able to go ahead and succeed in the same way in the United States, immigrated to Texas, which was at that part of Mexico. And then they decided that they wanted their rights, and their rights were being infringed by the dictator at the time, General Santa Anna. And one of those rights was slavery.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't like because they
slavery.
Yeah, they outlawed slavery in Mexico, and then Texas became its own country.
So then part of the military presence that the Texas Army built up were a bunch of slave owners. Jim Bowie's a slave owner.
Yeah.
William Barrett Travis is a slave owner. And the crazy part of it is the Mexicans. The Mexican army respected that they were slaves. They didn't kill slaves. They killed the slave owners and said, "All right, you're free. Go about your business. You're good."
We were always the bad guys. The Americans were always the worst player in the room. Like it's just like history is written by the victors.
Yeah, I mean the one time. I mean, there's a couple of times in history where you could look at this and say, like, "All right, legitimately, we're okay. All right, we were probably right to do that."
Yeah, I guess World War II.
Yeah, that's probably where I went to, but even then, we did use nuclear weapons on a
World War II in Europe
already all but defeated. So
World War II in Europe, I guess we were okay, but
But well, back to the news and everything. So since we're talking AOC, the other reason she was in the conversations today was this incident we talked about, or this story that we've been talking about a little bit with Project Veritas. So there was a little bit of a scandal here with I can't really pronounce his name right, Liban Osman, who was a subject of a Project Veritas of alleged voter fraud story. He was telling the media that he was offered $10,000 by Omar Jamal to say that he was collecting ballots for Congresswoman Ilhan Omar.
Mm-hmm.
So it turned out that linked to this Project Veritas story is a bunch of bribery and propaganda that was meant to go ahead and just attack Ilhan Omar.
Yeah, he wasn't even working for Ilhan, though, right? That's the other thing.
No, it was just bribery to say that he was doing this and this for Ilhan Omar because of this whole ballot collection bullshit.
Yeah, I think what did I say in my tweet? I worded it nicely. They had such a hard-on for Ilhan that they, instead of going to a state where it was actually illegal, instead of going somewhere where ballot harvesting was against the law and they could actually have a legitimate charge to bring on some campaign, some Democrat somewhere, they had to go to Minnesota where it's completely legal. And then since they couldn't get any of her staff, they went to I'm pretty sure the guy was working for a city council member, or maybe it was like a state senate politician, but not her. And he was completely working within the gambit of, the purview of his job to go collect ballots from constituents, right? Like old people mostly, I think, right?
So, all right, so let's back up. Because a lot of people that probably don't know, what is this issue about ballot harvesting and why is it bullshit?
Because it's legal in some states and illegal in others, right? Depending on how Republican dominated their legislature was. So
Republicans are usually against this thing.
They're Republicans as a good framework. They are against anything that makes voting easier or more likely. Like they depend on suppressing the vote as much as possible. Right. They want as the least amount of people voting as possible.
So if you could just tell by the Republican agenda the way they go against this whole ballot collection thing, the point of it is to get more votes in and to make it easier for people to have their votes counted.
Yeah, it's mostly for seniors. They go to old folks' homes and pick up the ballots.
Yes, and that's all it is. You're talking about helping seniors get their votes in is what essentially we're talking about with ballot harvesting. Yeah. So Ilhan Omar actually responded to that story, and she went ahead and said this. So you're saying a coordinated misinformation campaign by a known fraudster was actually a fraud?
Yeah.
This is on brand for Trump and his stooges, fraudsters who love concocting desperate racist conspiracies. Here, you hit the...
Our commenter says, what if you're an old person who can't get to the post office? I don't know if they go by... I think like if you probably called, if it was like a smaller race and you called, they'd probably come pick it up for you. But like...
Probably.
I think it's mostly for, neighborhoods, community centers, and stuff like that.
And then AOC went ahead and likewise had something to say in defense of Ilhan Omar.
Well, that guy too, by the way, the guy who was the star of their story to begin with, and Omar Jamal, he's like the Candace Owens of Somali people or something, right? Like he's the guy they bring on. He's a Somali immigrant, and they bring him on whenever they want to do fear mongering and shit talking about the Somalis, right? They like have him come on and say that there's a Muslim gang problem in Minnesota, or they'll have him come on like he's been around for a while too, like. He's had all kinds of like lawsuits, and he should have been deported by now too for something else. I forget what it was, but he like claimed citizenship in multiple countries. Like he had amnesty from Canada, and he lied about it. Just a bunch of different crap like that. He's shady as hell. So he was the guy that was working with O'Keefe to do the story to begin with, right? Mm-hmm. And they went to this guy, who, if you saw the clip,
So the main thing was, so Tulsi had latched onto this issue, which is, as we said, it's a Republican framework.
I recognize the earbuds, Huffin. That's the same guy. Well, remember, he was the one who kept saying, you need money for the campaign to go around, or whatever. You got to get that money or something. It was like totally ridiculous. By the way, I didn't know that was edited too. Like, he wasn't, the time when he said you got to get that money or whatever, that was a different time than when he was collecting the ballots. Those are two different occasions that they spliced together to make it look like he was inferring that he was paying for the ballots. I guess was that you're supposed to take away, but it's fucking...
But, so here's what Tulsi had to say. This was it was about a month ago. Banning ballot harvesting is not a partisan issue. It is used and abused in states like North Carolina and California and is ripe for fraud. That is why I introduced H.R. 8285, the Election Fraud Prevention Act with Rodney Davis, to protect the integrity of our elections. Congress needs to pass a bipartisan bill to ban ballot harvesting so no one can exploit our sacred right to vote. And she linked herself up with this Project Veritas, which is that's her whole shtick, to go fight ballot harvesting because of how horrible it is, because people are getting their votes in and whatever else it is. She's completely buying into the right-wing framework again.
And it's such
which
a
she's
bad
done in the
faith
past.
thing too. Like,
So and the Project Veritas thing again was a direct action was set against Ilhan Omar, which Tulsi was a part of. So that's why AOC came to her defense and said, "You, Tulsi Gabbard, you bitch." So, she didn't really say bitch, but she said, "You, along with everyone else who amplified this fraudulent story, owe Representative Omar a public apology."
yeah. I always wonder what they think about her. Like, I think they would have been nicer to her if she was normal. I think she's crazy, right? Like, or I think she's a crypto fash, right? Like, I think it's pretty clear now that she's.
Wait a minute. In Tulsi's defense, let's go ahead and read her response to AOC.
This issue is not about any of us. It's about voter harvesting. Ilhan, I apologize for referencing the PV story as an example without thoroughly vetting it. Now will you support HR 8285 to get rid of voter harvesting, which undermines our democracy? If not, why not? I mean...
So she did apologize, I guess you want to call that an apology.
Yeah, it's an apology.
Yeah. And then she went back and said that she's right anyway for pushing this whole ballot harvesting thing.
It's just buying into, they're trying to question the legitimacy of the upcoming election. Trump has been doing it for months. The whole right-wing grift machine has been doing that, right? Like, they've been ramping up to this, being like, oh, it's fake, but they couldn't find any instances of voter fraud because it's really not that common because no one cares enough, right? Like,
it's hard enough to get people to vote in the first place.
Exactly.
We were going to go through the effort to go and be fraudulent about it. Please get out of here.
So that's all they could find.
The tweet that I the tweet that I bookmarked in response to that apology was from Mike Figueredo over at the Humanist Report. Pay attention how he starts this one. Kudos to Tulsi for apologizing. I don't agree with the ban on ballot harvesting or ballot collection when we don't buy into right-wing framing. The elderly and disabled may be disenfranchised if it's illegal for others to turn in ballots on their behalf. This is a non-issue.
Exactly.
So, after he tweeted that, Tulsi went immediately unfollowed him.
That's cancel culture, bro.
Yeah, I guess. He's canceled from Tulsi support, and now the reason that this is that I really wanted to highlight the story is because Tulsi was considered one of the left candidates when the primary started because she was anti-imperialist. She had signed on to the Medicare for All bill, the House version, the more progressive version. And we thought that she was a Medicare for All proponent. She had her own version of the Green New Deal. She had all these good things about her. So. And there was a lot of different red flags that came up against her over the course of the primary. She backed off from Medicare for All.
I still policy-wise, I still feel like her version of Medicare for All was not that bad. Like that alone wasn't a reason to hate on her. I think it was more so her other behavior, which is like shit like this, right? She's always been weird. I just thought she was kooky, right? I thought like it was like some weird Hawaii shit. Because she grew up in that cult and stuff.
What's up?
She grew up in a cult, right? Like
that's what they said. Is she grew up in some kind of cult, which she says is not a cult. Yeah, it's kind of a cult.
It's like a surfer cult.
Yeah, and then she has these ties to Modi, who's a right-wing group. She has been under criticism from Anna Kasparian over a lot of different things.
But I think this is a pattern, too. She's Islamophobic. I don't know if I would go as far as to call her racist, but she has beef with it, like Muslim people, I think, right? Like, and if not, why does she keep putting herself in these situations? Well, like, the whole time...
Tulsi's fan base... she has a fan base. During the primary, we bumped into them a lot, and I supported Tulsi financially. I donated to her a couple times because I like some of her ideas.
Yeah.
But then when she started doing a lot of crap that I just didn't agree with anymore, I couldn't support her anymore.
Do you want to read those comments?
Yeah, so here's some of the example of some of the comments that came out after AOC went ahead and defended Ilhan.
No, I mean the comments in the chat.
Oh yeah,
because this guy says the same thing. I blame Nico House and those crazy nutters. Tulsi had the chance to be a great politician.
I used to watch Nico a lot, and I was following Nico for a while there too, and he went straight. Like I don't know, like for me, I appreciate AOC a lot because of her policies and everything else. But if she fucks up and she doesn't do something that's in line with the progressive agenda, I'll say it.
Yeah.
But not political bullshit, because I don't really care about if she goes and calls Nancy Pelosi Mama Bear. Fuck it. If it gets libs on her side and she still sticks to the Green New Deal and Medicare for all, do whatever you say. Say whatever you want to say. Just do the policies.
Yeah.
You need somebody that's politically savvy enough.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah. So, but when it comes to Tulsi and you see these things that are legitimate criticisms, and then the Tulsi stands come out full force and are pissed off anytime you levy these legitimate criticisms.
I think that's like the team sports aspect of it, right? Like I think the Tulsi people are people who like pick the team and then they're going to ride or die with that team, right? It's kind of like a weird variety of what the Chuds and Libs do, right? Mm-hmm. Like they made their bed and they're going to sleep in it, right? Like,
right.
I was trying to keep an open mind about her this whole time. Like we did that episode on her. Like I always defended her. Like
and the same here. And the other part with Tulsi, what she was vice chair of the DNC, right, in 2016, and she resigned in protest because of Bernie. And I thought that took a lot of integrity too, because she was somebody that the establishment would talk very well about until she did that.
Huffin, do you think Nico's an omp? He says, I knew right away there was something off about him. Dude has been grifting from the left. That ain't easy, so I give him props for the aspiration. That's the thing about that crowd. I thought if they're trying to make a legitimate future in politics, you stick with the left. You do what you're doing, right? If you're trying to make money, you obviously go the Dan Crenshaw, whatever, like you do that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's easy to sell out to the right. You become a chud and go and talk a bunch of nonsense like Dave Rubin and grift.
Yeah, but she has her bona fides now, right? Like she did that shit with Bernie in 2016, and she started to fight like she owned the libs pretty hard, right? Mm-hmm. And she did all that Fox News shit during Obama's time. Like she has a nice pedigree to now become a right winger, and it would be effective if she was like, look, I had to leave. Like she did like a version of Dave Rubin's thing. She was like, I have to switch parties because the radical left is too woke. All this woke politics is not good.
No,
she could do some shit like that. Like
so AOC's in the news, and I bookmarked a couple of these tweets that I wanted to go over with you, Matt. So.
I've been showing them.
Yeah, there was the ones. There's 3 there, all in line, and I really wanted to go and look
Wait
at.
A minute.
So,
what did that girl say? AOC is the Barack Obama
for this generation. Changed my mind.
I can see why you would say that, but like, she hasn't done she's well situated to become the Barack Obama of this generation if she was so inclined. I think is all you can say at this point.
I'll give you that. If she wanted to be a sellout, she's in a perfect position to sell out.
Yeah, she's an updated version of Barack Obama.
In that case.
Yeah, but so far she's done nothing. She's done very little to indicate that she's turned her back on the left.
Exactly. Who did she endorse in the primary after he had a heart attack?
Exactly.
Bernie. It was a perfect opportune time to endorse Warren.
And she still hasn't endorsed Biden, really, right? I mean, she has, but
no, they
she's...
didn't, and they didn't invite her to the DNC, and then the speaking time. I'm still I know you say I'm crazy for this, but she could have mentioned Biden in that little introduction, and she didn't, and I think that was on purpose.
Yeah, I mean,
and I think it was just ridiculous enough for the libs to go ahead and call out and look like dumbasses. And they did, and it blew up in their faces. So I still stick to, what did I go with? The Bugs Bunny strategy? The Michael Corleone strategy? Either way, what I looked at it as is you're getting a lot of these libs that will like her, but the establishment doesn't like her. No matter, because let's not be under any delusions. If you're a progressive, the establishment is not going to like you. They're not going to be friends with you.
Yeah.
But
I think those Tulcels are this is what this guy says. They had an ideological grounding and saw an angle for them to create their own media bubble. And now they're just grifters with the Dems and Republicans, same horse. And he says, AOC is wonderful. Thank God we have someone we can trust. Yeah, that's how we feel, right?
Yeah. So
She's...
Lucy, pull up that second tweet really fast.
Which one?
The AOC and Ilhan are both imperialists.
Oh. Is it? Yeah, this girl. AOC and Ilhan Omar are both imperialists who co-opted identity politics to get elected, only to uphold U.S. hegemony in Congress and cruelly betray the very people they were meant to represent. I mean, what's Savion saying? Well, Rashida's my fave. Kind of a weird response. Even if they have foreign policy mistakes or comments, it doesn't make them imperialist. I would like to see more anti-war imperialism from all of them.
What I don't see is how they're anywhere in that imperialist camp.
Yeah. This girl linked
Bernie
something...
had a completely anti-imperialist agenda. And they want to... And I know that's a Tulsi stand because her whole claim to fame was being anti-imperialist against these foreign interventionist wars. Like if she was the only candidate in the race that was about that, she could go and talk about her experiences all she wants and respect to her service. I'll say that, but Bernie was just against these wars as she was, or more so. And AOC is right in that same camp. Ilhan's in that same camp. Rashida's in that same camp.
Yeah.
So to go ahead and try to make them all out to be part of this military industrial complex group it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I do notice this. I do notice this a lot with a lot of leftists when one of them goes and tries to play nice or plays too nice or plays too close rhetorically, mind you, with establishment Dems, all of a sudden, all the acumen that you see from leftists in regards to policy goes out the window, and it's all about appearances. So you get this thing like this other tweet that I went and bookmarked for us. Besides calling Pelosi Mama Bear, why is AOC hated so much by certain facets of the left?
That girl right there, that Nancy Pelosi sentient fridge, she's just trying to be epic on Twitter. That's a dumb take. I don't think she can have any... There's not really any... They're imperialist? No, I think it's pretty obvious that they're engaging in it as little imperialism as they can get away with, right? You saw what the coup in Bolivia...
Yes.
They don't have a lot of flexibility. American Congress members can't develop their own foreign policy. They can get away with some, dissension, but it's a bipartisan consensus on pretty much every foreign policy move.
What's one of the main things they always get criticized on? They're being too anti-Israel.
Yeah.
They're being too anti-Israel. They're being anti-Semitic. They're anti-Semitic. Ilhan's clearly anti-Semitic because she's against Israel.
This guy says, I think once Bernie got crushed by the establishment, AOC realized U.S. politics are dirty, So she needs to create powerful institutions to actually make a difference. That's pretty much what we've been saying since day one.
Yeah.
Like, she saw what they did to Bernie. She's trying to run a different course. So
yeah, I think she's being a more savvy politician.
exactly.
Than he is.
And if it means that this fucking girl on Twitter gets to like rag on her for like, not calling out the Israeli apartheid or whatever she wants, then so be it, right? But that's not there's no any kind of savvy like analysis will show you pretty clearly like what the squad are up to. They're doing the best they can. I feel like there's not,
and just for me, it's frustrating because since moving into the leftist circles from being in that neo-lib circle that I was in, one of the best things I could say is that everybody is very policy oriented. We want to know what you're going to do. We study the policies. We read the bills, and a lot of people do, and for people to get caught up on, oh, well, how does this look? Or no, I don't know. Why is she saying all this crap? I mean, how much sense does it make to get pissed off because AOC calls Nancy Pelosi Mama Bear, but as soon as she went and endorsed a challenger to a more right-leaning Democratic challenger, right? When it came to endorsing a more right-wing leaning challenger from the Democratic side, AOC went right at her and said, okay, guess this game's on. We're going to start challenging everybody.
Yeah, she's playing politics, and she's doing a good job of it.
Yeah, I think so, too. Well, the response that we put up from the show account was to that tweet was because she knows how to play politics, even though she hasn't stepped back 1 inch from Medicare for All or the Green New Deal.
Yeah.
So, as long as she does that, AOC, we will be fans of you.
Exactly. All these Tulcels, like, when was the last time, like, I don't know. I guess Tulsi has done some stuff, but, like, every single time AOC gives a speech or she's on TV or anything, like, she's talking about, like, real shit. Like, half the time that Tulsi is like doing any kind of news is she's doing some culture war bullshit, like some like anti-woke thing, Israeli trope is a way to push people up against a rock and a hard place. Being a Jew myself and Israeli, I personally think this weaponization of our history is disgusting and it adds to anti-Semitism. That's exactly what I said.
Yes.
I don't know. Not only that, too, but it confuses people. Like, you remember a few months ago, there was the BLM protesters who spray painted on that synagogue. And I forget where it was. It's a suburb somewhere. And it struck to me as, like, some teenage kid. He knows that, he knows about Palestine, but doesn't necessarily understand, like, the difference between Israel and some random synagogue in the American suburbs, right?
Exactly.
And I think a lot of that has to do with the constant weaponization of anti-Semitism, right? I think a lot of that has to do with them calling out stuff like, like Elon's comments about AIPAC, pretending that that's anti-Semitism. Mm-hmm. It confuses people, and they don't understand, especially with the way that, Trump talks about it. Like I mean, if anybody's anti-Semitic, it's some of the shit he says, right?
and look, and believe me, they would have gone ahead and put that same anti-Semitic label right on Bernie if they could swing
they would. Well, like they did to Corbyn, man. Like
exactly what they did to Corbyn. So, but since I brought up Bernie here, there was a incident with Bernie at one of the rallies he's doing for Biden. I got that video bookmarked up.
Yeah.
So you see, you can pull that up for everybody. But bless his heart, true to his word, Bernie's out there doing his best to campaign for Biden, risking his ass while Biden shit talks him.
I wish he wouldn't do that.
I mean, there's no benefit for shit talking Bernie.
Yeah, like comparing him to Castro and Putin and just like, I don't know if Biden knows what he's doing.
Why? That doesn't do anything. It doesn't do anything to help you. There's a lot of people that are still trying to... The best argument that a leftist has is probably the harm reduction argument, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of leftists that will get pissed off just hearing you shit talk their candidate over and over and over.
Yeah.
And
it's just dumb. Like, he can say, I'm not a socialist without all that other shit he says. Like, he can say... But, like, the thing is, it's like... We saw in the primaries, so many people that voted for him thought that they were voting for somebody who supported Medicare for all, right?
Yes, and the exit polls reflected that.
Yeah, so he doesn't want to connect socialism to actual socialism. He wants people to be ignorant about it. So he's going to try to continue confusing the issue and make it like it's authoritarianism, right? Like the way he said Putin and Castro, like that's what he was trying to say. He was basically trying to say like socialism equals authoritarian regimes.
Right?
Yeah,
there's no such thing as a leftist libertarian in his mind. But
I don't think that was like I think he's just an old man, but I think his team told him to say that. They want him.
Let's see, were you able to get that video up?
Yeah.
Let's see, go for it.
They need a $15 an hour minimum wage.
Oh, no, I fucked it up.
$15 an hour minimum wage, and that is what Joe Biden is proposing. And Joe Biden understands that it is absurd that women in America increase. They need a $15 an hour minimum wage, and that is what Joe Biden is proposing. And Joe Biden understands.
I mean,
this guy says, I think it's okay. Biden is trying. It's not ideal. We ended up with Biden, but we need Trump and his administration out yesterday. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of where we're at now, too. Like, and 6 months ago, I was okay to be like, fuck it, let them fight it out, right? Like, but like in the past couple months, Trump is really, he's not up to the task, man. He's gotten so much worse, right? Like, and the way he's kind of like goading these people on, like we're watching this lady now, like do the shit with the flag and then like crouch down on the ground. Like,
yeah, I probably shouldn't be laughing at her misfortune, but I'm gonna laugh at her misfortune.
What do you mean? She's a terrorist. I don't know. Well, I guess not a terrorist, but
well, look, she's going up to Bernie, maskless, waving a damn flag in his face while he's trying to do a speech.
Yeah, I mean, this is like political violence, I guess you would say, right? Like, I don't know what the name for that is. It is scary, dude. Like,
yeah,
that's the problem. Like, that's why we got to get the fuck rid of Trump. Like,
yeah, no, I know. Like, though, if I was at that speech, I probably would have tackled her. Just been like, got a ride from my bro Bernie.
Yeah, I would have taken the flag and fucking snapped it over my knee. But like, you get, like, I'm surprised those cops like
let it go for that long.
Well, I mean, I guess it was a Biden rally, but like, you see what happens like at protests if counter protesters show up and you take their sign. You know, like if you take some guy's Trump sign from BLM protest, the cops will arrest you for theft. You know, like I've seen that happen dozens of times over the last summer. Like
it's true.
They'll do every excuse they can to arrest the left protesters and not the, not the chuds.
And we happen in protests when a leftist goes in, stands up for themselves when a right winger is approaching them with violence too, because they gunned down that dude in Portland.
That's the problem, man. Like,
and Kyle Rittenhouse is still alive.
That's why the Democrats are really dropping the ball on this police defunding matter, like whatever you want to call it. Like, if there's going to be any kind of violence on election day or afterwards, it's going to originate with the cops, and they will be complicit in it. You know, like, defunding the police is an electoral issue too.
Well, and just so people don't think that we're over exaggerating, the police now are raiding the homes of various DC protesters.
Exactly. They're
raiding their houses.
Yeah, retaliation.
We had Breonna Taylor get gunned down in her house. and they're still doing this shit.
Once Trump
They
is
had no
gone,
warrant.
what do y'all think is a way to deal with this? They aren't going to just wake up one morning and be normal people. Plus, they have a lot of guns. I mean,
one situation
you improve economic conditions. I think, right?
Yes,
you give people
one
more
thing
opportunities.
Is, there has to be different policies to go in to improve the economic conditions. But as far as being afraid of right wing militias and that like, I think when we had a whole gun episode that we talked about why are guns such a why does the right have a complete stranglehold on gun culture and arming yourself and the Second Amendment, and it really didn't make any sense.
No,
when we
because they're psycho. Like other people, normal people have regular lives. They have regular stuff to do. They're not psycho. Like it's like a individualist, like a libertarian sort of streak where like you need to be your own man, sort of like you need to be able to like defend yourself, like but not even defend yourself, just kind of like so you don't need anybody's help,
right. So for me, I was pretty much as anti gun as it gets. I was a person that was pushing for a lot of these liberal gun restriction kind of things. I've really turned a 180 on that because when you have BLM, when you have left-wing protesters out there supporting BLM, and you walk out there and the police are armed, the right wing is armed, and the only people out there marching that don't have any kinds of guns and they keep getting fucked with are the leftists, then maybe it's time for leftists to start carrying rifles too.
Well, I mean, I think it's time to answer what we're protesting for. I think that would be the best way to minimize gun violence and any kind of violence if there was a better society. I think that's what it is. It's people.
The thing that I fall back on when it comes to arming the left specifically is the police and the right wing have a habit of not fucking with people that are carrying around guns. They don't want that. I don't think they're. I mean, as much as they talk about having a civil war and all that kind of shit, that's not how they respond when people have actually gone out there with rifles.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, well, because they're bullies, right? Like they only want to get into an engagement if they think they can win. Exactly. Like they don't want to fuck with you if they think that you're going to be able to hit them back. Like you see like cops. Like I remember one time, I forget, there was like a Chipotle being robbed, and I drove by. Mm-hmm. And you could see the guys inside, and the cops the squad car was like waiting out front for backup. Like they wouldn't do anything until they had like vastly outnumbered them, right? And it was really shocking to see, but that's how they are. They won't put themselves in danger, right? And you saw how it was in Minneapolis too.
For as much as they want to say that they're in danger, that they're always in danger from getting hit with whatever that the freaking protesters are throwing at them.
I mean, I guess it's sound tactical awareness or whatever, right?
I mean, if you look at our theme song, we did put in that clip of a cop getting popped with a trash can lid, but call that a creative decision on my part. And since we're bringing up the cops, there was so I keep going and tweeting this from the show account. There's no reason to think these protesters are going to wrap up. And the reason why is because stuff like our next story keeps happening. Yeah. So if you want to pull up this tweet, Matt.
They keep shooting more people.
So I got that tweet already bookmarked here. Mr. Jonathan Price. He's from my home state of Texas. He was shot and murdered by a police officer after trying to stop a fight. And thankfully, I have it right here underneath the Project Veritas thing.
I agree with you, but it says fetishize masculinity, but in reality it's very insecure. Yep. I agree with you, but we will not outgun them. We need to use capitalism's ability to act in any way other than pursuit of capital. 2016 Trump had media tuned into an empty podium. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We're not going to be able to outgun them, and we're not going to...
No.
They're not going to fair fight anyway. Like, we need to beat them. We need to kill them with kindness, basically, right? Like, we need to kill them with better opportunities, like better explanation. Like the weaponization of identity politics is harmful, right? Because it has these disaffected, like, frog people, these like, the what's it called? The rare Pepe crowd. Like they're these are the people who are in. That's who gets disaffected. They get turned off.
Yeah.
They get involved with all like the Zack Snyder shit, like the culture war stuff, right?
Right.
And it turns them. They keep going down that path, right? And
But
that's
it
who
doesn't
eventually
hurt
becomes
for-
these far right militiamen.
But in addition to that, it doesn't hurt that every leftist out there started buying AKs. And I say AKs, not ARs, because I find that AKs are more of a lefty gun.
Is it below or above?
It's a third tweet from the top.
Yeah. Like,
There we go.
and the other thing I keep saying too, I keep harping on, but if the Democrats do a handful of good policies just to kind of show people that the government can do good and that, like liberalism or progressivism, whatever you want to call it, like, socialistic-y things are good, I feel like that would go a long way towards breaking the right-wing spell, right? Like, the people were attracted to Trump because of the populism. They weren't attracted to him because of the standard Republican stuff.
Right. No, and I think that if you had a populist on the left, it would work. It would work for a lot of those people. It really would.
No, that's what I'm saying. Fixing racism will improve the lives of the Pepes. You know what I mean? Like, conversely, like counterintuitively, if you had less racist police, you would have better quality of life for the chuds too. They just don't understand it, but I think that's true.
Because they're caught up in that culture war shit. But all right, you got me?
Where's this? I see the top one is AOC. Then there's
you probably got it.
The Trump side effects. Then it's Cuties. And then it's that Bo, the fifth column. There's Kyle, AOC, Indivisible, Maddow. He says, economically, it's good to go social democracy, but the establishment Democrats don't have the will or determination.
Yeah, no, they don't. Not only that, they don't have the desire to do that.
No, they don't want to.
They're incentivized not to move in that direction. But the answer to that has to be to keep moving against them electorally. We're having success. We're getting more progressives in office, and regardless of what happens in this election, we can't stop that momentum. We have to keep getting more of these seats.
But we have to get small victories. We have to get stuff like, like what Bernie did in the first Medicare or in the first Obamacare bill when he got like the rural health clinics, stuff like that.
It helps to have good advocates in Congress.
But
to be
just
able to do that.
Stuff like that where you show that the government did something good for you, like the socialist got something good for you. Like Bernie fights for something, and then these chuds directly benefit from something that the left fights for. That's the kind of victory that has to happen.
Exactly.
The Green New Deal doesn't get passed, but they do. They do like a solar panel factory, and they make like 1 million new jobs or whatever. Something like that, and they show you like, look, this is what we're talking about. Like, this is the good shit we're saying. I think that would help.
Yeah, the only thing that really helps.
This tweet's not on here, by the way. Whatever one you're talking about.
I already have a bookmark. Refresh the page. It's at the third one at the top.
So we don't have to go full social democracy. We just have to show the people that that's the right direction to go in, right?
Yeah.
And also, the boomers are aging out, and
that's true.
The other thing is the people who won the primary for Joe Biden, they are not Democrats, right? If there's if Mitt Romney runs in 4 years, right? If it's someone like him, those people will vote for him versus somebody on, more liberal Democrat, somebody who's not Joe Biden, right?
Well,
so we can still win the primary.
Well, I think what changes things is you don't have that aspect of anti-Trump hysteria that was able to be weaponized so much by the messaging by the mainstream media.
This guy's taking off. I think we're getting those victories. I remember when Justice Democrats was only an idea. Now look at us. So goodness has happened. All right, I'm out. It was good chatting with you all. Thank you. Be easy. All right, man. Yeah, thanks for coming by. Hit us up on Twitter. We try to do this a lot of nights.
Yep. So
this guy's got good takes. I like good chatters. He's better than last night's chatter. It was mean to me.
Well, apparently I'm the one that talks like an adult, so I appreciate the compliment. Still hanging on to that one.
The top thing is Cuties, and then this Jordan Chariton. This shit. Okay. His name is Jonathan Price.
He was shot and murdered by a police officer in Texas trying to stop a fight. Yeah, and this is the funny thing. And I brought this up to my niece's attention because I caught her with a pro-cop armband.
Wait a minute, which one's which?
Broke my freaking heart. The black dude is, of course, the one that got shot.
I was going to say, I wish it was the opposite, right? And then we could maybe get the chuds involved. Look, this black cop shot a white dude.
Unfortunately, you really didn't have to ask about which one was the one that got capped. But
I thought it was like a trick for some reason. I thought it was like the way it was set up like that. How he was out of uniform.
Yeah, he was out of uniform. You could tell.
Yeah, he looks racist as shit, man. Look at him.
Yeah, he has a freaking Cabela's shirt on.
What's Cabela's?
It's a Walmart for guns, basically.
Oh, fuck.
Like it's dope. I shouldn't say it's dope, but it's still okay. So Cabela's is like this giant ass department store where they even they put Christmas decorations and they have like Santa Claus there when the kids come by, and like you have wall to wall guns in that spot. You have bows and arrows. You have bullets all over stacked up. You have every kind of hunting knife that you could think of. All this kind of shit.
He's got those close together eyes. Those racist that's like
the
inbred.
The Kirk eyes.
Yeah, that's like a sign of being inbred.
But this is the thing. Well, since we're talking about it, my niece, I caught her with a pro cop armband, and it hurt me right here, bro. So I sent her this story about the guy because she was all saying the whole thing that she gets from her mother about, well, not all of her cops are bad, you know. Maybe are you saying that I shouldn't like any cops, and like even if they're not good, even if they're good cops? And
did you explain what ACAB means? But like, did you explain that?
Remember, she's 16, so I was trying to.
I know, but she's old enough to get it. It's not that the cops are all evil. Plenty of cops are not evil. They're regular people. They get home from work and they're chill. They play with their kids. They eat dinner, whatever. But the institution of cops is broken, and the cops that participate in that, knowing it's broken, that's what makes them bastards. Like the fact that they continue to partake in this behavior or turn the blind eye as their coworkers engage in that kind of behavior is the problem, right? And if there's 9 cool cops and 1 Nazi cop in a room, and the other 9 know about the Nazi cop, then there's 10 Nazi cops in the room. You know,
exactly.
That's how you got to look at it.
So Mr. Price, he was characterized as a pillar of the community.
Yeah, he looks like it.
He was a supporter of the police.
Yeah, he looks like it.
Yeah, and they killed him
for what?
When he was helping a woman in need. He was stopping a fight.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll see some story tomorrow from Charlie Kirk or somebody about how like he had unpaid parking tickets and really he was starting a fight and not stopping it or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
They'll find something.
I think this is the closest I've seen to one of the Philando Castillo situation where you had a dude that was really pro-gun and you had no one from the NRA that was supposed to be the big gun organization in the country say a damn thing in support of his gun rights. So,
he was arrested though.
Yeah, they did arrest him.
That's cool.
There was like one silver lining from it, which it's unfortunate you have to call it a silver lining because the truth of the matter is they don't always get arrested.
They never get arrested.
They don't always go to jail.
This is rare. That's why I'm kind of shocked by this. Like, usually they only arrest them after weeks of protesting and like aggressive calls for it.
Yes, we saw that. We just saw that Breonna Taylor's case where the grand jury wasn't even allowed to indict them for murder.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. Yeah.
Coronavirus!
I guess the last story we can go ahead and wrap up on is we put that in the title for a reason.
Yeah.
Because we had been wanting to cover this thing for a while. And,
I mean, I don't like talking about this now. I'm tired. You tell us though. It's down in your neck of the woods.
So,
this is some shit you guys did.
So,
you did this to my Netflix.
So there is a controversial film on Netflix out right now. It's called Cuties. And the reason it was controversial, first thing that happened with it, they released a title card from it. We know when you go on Netflix, they do like the promo advertisement and everything. And they had a bunch of tweens, and they're posing in like in a sexually suggestive manner, which the point of the film is to call out the hyper sexual exploitation of kids that age.
And just as a side note, before we even get started, that cover that was supposedly lewd or whatever was so much milder than every episode. I don't watch Dance Moms, but my sisters did, so I just remember like seeing chunks of episodes. That was definitely a lot racier than anything in Cuties or this movie poster that they had to redo.
So they did redo the poster after pressure, but they went ahead and released the video anyway. So
it was a hit movie in France.
So this is the story of it. So the 11-year-old girl joins a group of dancers, the Cuties, at school and rapidly grows aware of her burgeoning femininity. The parental warning on this thing is for sex and nudity. During one of the many highly sexualized and erotic dance scenes, the purposefully exploit and objectify numerous scantily clad underage girls.
Is this from The Complaint?
No. This is the parent's guide for it. See, one of the female child dancers lifts up her crop top to fully display her bare breast. This is lawfully defined as pedophilia and can be extremely distressing to many viewers. An 11-year-old girl also watches a female rap music video where naked women role play through dance and heterosexual and lesbian sex acts. Like, an 11-year-old female dance group then mimics these sexual maneuvers on themselves and on each other while the camera zooms in on their sexual body parts as they erotically writher.
Yeah,
this can be highly distressing to many viewers. Female breast nudity of a minor during an erotic dance scene and lengthy, excessive close-up shots of breasts, bums, and spread crotches of scantily clad 11-year-old girls during numerous sexualized.
Where's this from? This is
tight leather pants.
That's definitely a partisan source that you're reading. That's not like a.
Yeah, this is the parents' guide.
Yes, that's like some reactionary parents group, like some like anti-gay type, far right religious group, right? Like that's not like what the IMDb says.
I think that one was actually on IMDb.
Well, it's written to sound like that because there's no way none of that stuff rings true. There was a long article in Jacobin about it, and it's completely contrived. It's like they just took the movie and made it some shit to do some racist fear mongering, right? And I feel like that's what it is.
Well,
when it's like
there was also
little 10-year-old white girls running around. Right.
Well, see, there's also a scene where it says the girls dancing sexually for an older man to get out of trouble. Girls watch pornography together.
But I'm saying, are any of these things? But think about stuff that you've seen. Are any of these things something that you would think twice about if it was in a movie? This is completely standard fare, right? The one scene that sounds like there might be something to it is the topless scene, but I'm sure it's not as lewd as they make it sound. I think this is completely contrived. I think this is just
Okay, so we should just go ahead and back up so we can explain our perspectives a little bit. You're a stay-at-home dad. You have a daughter.
Yeah.
Right? So this is the perspective that you're coming at it from.
Yeah.
So you're able to go
I'm
ahead
not I'm not coming it from it.
Everybody.
I'm not doing the Napple or
Well, you're the parent of the two of us, is what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, man.
And I would think between the two of us, if anyone's gonna really think that there's a reason to find this completely beyond the pale, it's gonna be you, not me.
Exactly. This is not like pedos aren't watching this and getting off on it, because I feel like that's what a lot of people seem to think. Like, it's one thing if
Yes.
you think it's like exploitative of the actors, I guess, or somehow like a bad influence on minors somehow. But like, I don't see how you could really make that argument, first of all. And then on top of that, it's like, what the shit, I forgot where I was going with that. It was a good point too. Damn it. What was I saying?
Well, I mean, you're saying that it's not like that pedos are using this.
Oh
as
yeah,
some-
yeah. That's what I was saying. Like, no, there's not pedos like rewinding this and pausing this. Like I said, there's so much more lewd material just on American television. Like I keep saying, Dance Moms. I don't understand why none of these people fucking remember Dance Moms, which is why I think this is completely contrived. Like,
Would you have considered
just
Dance
a
Moms
moral
to
panic.
be exploitative?
I mean, no, like I said, like I don't know. Like, I mean, the parents are, right? Like the whole, the process of whatever they were doing, like the pageant scene is, I guess, somewhat exploitative, but it's just like any other activity kids do, like kids play sports, like it's a little creepy, I guess, but like,
Yeah,
I
and
don't
see,
think it's like a pedo hotbed like these people seem to imply.
right.
It's like,
For me reading the description, that's kind of what I thought about it. Was it just sounds freaking creepy,
Yeah.
and there's a better way to make the point that they're trying to make about, I guess, where kids are mentally or what they're being exposed to.
I mean, they're just
Because-
telling the story though. Like,
But
know?
it's a story. It's a movie that's made to.
I'm sure it's
also make a
incredibly
point.
accurate, is what I'm saying. Like,
Right. That's what I'm saying. Is I think a lot of parents are just not ready to go there.
Exactly.
And think that their kids are have access to that sort of thing or that sort of environment, or things have gotten that much worse since they were kids themselves and what they were exposed to at whatever age.
yeah.
Because if they were 14 as opposed to 11, I wonder if they would have the same kind of reaction.
I mean, I think 14 is a little grosser, right? Like, I think of 11 as prepubescent, right?
Uh-huh.
I think by the time you're 14, like, there's like, it's much more adult looking,
Okay.
right? People who are into like younger girls. I think if
would be
somebody who's
probably- yeah,
into
probably R.
like,
Kelly would have tuned in at that point.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly. Like, I think I feel like the kind of person who's into an 11-year-old is a lot sicker than the kind of person who's into a 14-year-old, if that's even, a thing,
Yeah.
And I mean, either way, it's like that's the no, like either way, they're both creepy, right? Like you can't,
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't think any of us are gonna come up here and say that anybody that is exploiting a kid is anything but creepy. Of course they are. But when it comes to this documentary, this video, this movie that's out there, I think that it's something that a lot of people weren't ready to face if it was any kind of reflection of reality. And I think for me, I think that the point that was trying to be made with the film could have been made another way, and it didn't have to be marketed. And I think it goes hand in hand where it was marketed in a certain way. And
like
but regardless of all of that kind of stuff, and we can disagree about the nuances, but what happened recently, I think is just completely ridiculous.
So I mean, like the fact that they made it an issue, it's
Right.
like it was not an issue unless it was politically advantageous for right-wing politicians. That's why you even know the name of the movie,
right?
Right?
And I think, but see, I think a lot of people that were just hearing it, because if you just hear those descriptions out there,
Yeah.
I think you're just
It's a
automatically
moral
upset
panic.
by
It's
it.
easy to gym up a moral panic for especially that kind of shit with all of the like the conspiracies and the QAnon shit that's like floating in the ether and seeping into the mainstream. Like they've been having those Save the Children parades all around the country. Like that's a deliberate agenda. Like there's paid operatives who are ginning that up for this kind of purpose, to make you scared and to make you distrust all the liberals and like be homophobic and, you know, xenophobic and all that shit. Like it's all
I
connected.
think that's more in line to what happened next after that initial controversy.
I'm
So
saying.
Netflix just recently was indicted on felony charges in Texas
Criminal
for the
charges.
movie. So it says promoting lewd material of children.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane.
So let me just
Unprecedented.
go ahead and read what's up?
Unprecedented. I can't ever remember a situation like this where there was criminal charges filed against the distributor of a streaming service's movie.
Yes. So Netflix is facing felony charges for Cuties as backlash against the controversial French film heads to the legal arena. A Tyler County, Texas grand jury indicted the streaming giant on September 23rd for promoting lewd visual material against the peace and dignity of the state. The one-page indictment received by USA Today states that that Netflix promoted, distributed, and exhibited material that depicts the lewd exhibition of the genitals or pubic area of clothed or partially clothed child who was younger than 18 years of age for the prurient interest in sex. The documentary also states that the film also states that the film had no serious literary, artistic, political, or scientific value.
Yeah. That's like, it's going to be very hard to even like argue that case. The judge won't let it get past the complaint stage, but
right. But anyway, so Netflix subscribers reported in September that the streaming service saw an uptick in cancellations amid controversy of the coming of age film. And let's see, the state offense is a state jail felony because the state offense is not federal. And it says the legislators of the state believe promoting certain lewd materials of children has destructive consequences. If such material is distributed on a grand scale, isn't the need to prosecute more, not less? A grand jury in Tyler County found probable cause for this felony, and my job is to uphold the laws of the state and see that justice is done. And
what did
Senator
Netflix say?
Yeah, well, the response from Netflix was, Cuties is a social commentary against the sexualization of young children. The charge is without merit, and we stand by the film. So that's a response from Netflix.
Good.
Because
it's
you don't think it's going to get past the complaint phase?
No. How could it be that? So you understand how you could get rid of probably 10% of all content streaming on the internet right now if you applied that kind of standard, right? Like
no, and just for everybody who's still watching us or getting to watch us on replay, like both of us have like a little bit of a legal background here. Yeah. So that's where we're coming at it from. And with the fact that it got through a grand jury is surprising to me already.
Well, they went around shopping for a grand jury where they could get it through. It didn't have to be in Texas, you know.
But I mean, if you're gonna get it passed, you're probably gonna get it passed in a red ass state like
they
here.
Probably, you know, had I'm sure there was options, right? That being one of them, but you know, it was an advantageous jurisdiction for them.
I mean, do you think that if they thought they could get away with it, they would have done that in a district court?
That's what I mean. That's what I'm saying. This is obviously a federal case, right?
Yeah. You see, why is it only to state?
Because they could get it through there. Because it's just to gin up the story. That's the only reason this is there, right? This isn't concerned citizens. It's people who are deliberately trying to plant the story, do the case, try to make a bunch of media cycles for it. Like, this is what... If you go on, like, the right-wing internet spaces, it's all shit like this. That's literally what they do. They make up stories like this and then run with it for several months in a row. Like, they'll have stories about, like, celebrities saying like mean things about conservatives, or they'll have a story with like just like a performing arts center will have like an edgy play or something like that, and then
and they'll drum up controversy.
exactly
for that,
like that's all they talk about. Like, go look at their stuff sometime. It's all it is.
Yeah, but I mean the fact that it's actually going into court though, it seems like it's up a different level just because of that, and there is gonna have to be arguments. I mean,
No
just from my
way.
experience with law and everything,
No
everybody can figure out a way to make
What
some kind of
argument? I know, but oh man,
you could find some president to go back and bank off your
I just don't know.
case.
Like, it would just be a nightmare if you introduce that kind of standard. I don't think.
I feel bad for the associate that this lands on their desk and they
I
have to
wonder
write
if they're like trying to get a bribe.
Yeah, I have no idea, but
'Cause that's what's
I think
gonna
we'll go ahead
happen,
and
right?
keep an eye on that story though, because if that does end up going further, or the trial actually doesn't get thrown out immediately by the judge, it's going to be interesting.
The Obama part too. We didn't even mention that part. That's the
Which
other
one?
thing going on here. Is like they know that like the Netflix guy, that Reed Hastings guy, is like a big donor, right?
For Obama, and then they have the whole
Exactly.
Obama film deal.
That's the whole connection. They did this, like I said, they did this on purpose. Like, this was a way, like, the Obama Gate, right? Like, they keep his name in the media, like, they make him a target. He's like Nancy Pelosi. Like, they like to attack him, or like, Bill Clinton. Like, they're sick, man. Like, they do this, that's their whole thing now. It's gotten to the point where it's really, like that chatter was saying, they're really off the hook. Like, they need to be called back in. We need to figure out something to get those people to chill the fuck out, because the culture warriors are crazy.
All right, so last thing before we gotta go, and we're gonna wrap up. I got a little snippet from Chris Como that I think will entertain everybody. So I'll have Matt run that before we react, and then just go ahead and wrap up for you guys.
What, did you bookmark it?
Yeah, it should be like the. Yeah, if you refresh, it's the second one.
I feel bad for the lady who made Cuties.
Yeah, I mean, she came at this with a point. I think a lot of that still falls back on how Netflix marketed it too. I think that's a problem. I don't think it's because coming at it, I had no.
Wasn't it a
idea
popular
about
movie in France? Isn't that why
yeah,
they
'cause it was
brought
a
it to
French film
America?
first.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what?
So,
It's just, like I said, completely contrived. And if you do that, you have to pull at least hundreds of shows. Like, it'll just be a nightmare. All right, I'm gonna put this on.
all right.
Yeah, and the episode's gonna be late. We've been streaming every night. Episode is late.
Cuomo, welcome to prime time, but more accurately, just welcome to the land of confusion. Is there anything more to say? Really? Do any of you not get what's happening? I know you go to your respective partisan corners, especially at this time of night, for succor, S-U-C-C-O-R, not S-U-C-K-E-R. I don't judge. Tell me why I'm right to hate him. Tell me why I'm right to love him. Does anybody really need to tell you anything? There he is, hair blown majestically, reshooting the scene for his own ad. I hold rallies, and I tell you to ignore masks, and I rip mine off as I vanquish the virus because I am a leader. Fear not, COVID.
Yeah.
What a bunch of bullshit. Going back to the White House, if you want to know the reality, the truth, okay? The virus is the truth. The virus doesn't care about left and right. The virus does what's reasonable. You give me a chance, I'll spread. You keep away from me, you don't give me a chance, I run out of hosts, I die. I am the truth. If you're doing the right thing, you don't see me that much. If you're doing the wrong thing, you do. The White House is literally what we fear the most, a rash of contagion called a cluster. You want a metaphor? You've got a president who was a drunk driver who is pushing others.
That's what I said. I said
That's what he is. Do I want to see a drunk driver
mass
get
shooter.
hurt? Hell no. But I worry more about the people he hits.
Bet you're on your
And
way
I
to
love
becoming
seeing
the
him
next
do
Chris
that
Cuomo,
victory
bro.
lap in that limo. Thank God.
Dude,
You know why?
I would
I knew
own
that meant he
Cuomo.
has to be okay. Not the people who were in there with him, PPE up to their nose. Now they got a quarantine. He doesn't give a damn. And now I don't have to feign any extra measure of compassion. Because he went out there, whatever happens now is on him. The White House is a cluster. He returned to a cluster and took his mask off. That is covidiacy. He's a covidiot. You're disrespecting the president. No, he disrespected the presidency.
The covidiot.
All that's left is the residue of outrage, because that's the only emotion I have.
I was really surprised that Cuomo went into
He
that.
does and tells you to do everything the experts say not to, even
Yeah,
after
bro.
getting the virus.
All
See,
right, can we-
that's the
is that-
truth.
Did it wrap up? Can't tell.
There is no change. He didn't
It's a
beat
5-minute
the virus.
clip.
Not better than anybody.
Yeah.
Who
Is there a
didn't
good
beat the
part?
virus or who takes time.
No,
He's
that
not
was
stronger
probably
than I am.
That was probably the good part. But he really
He
went in
got
on it.
every advantage. He has use of all the things he denies the rest of us. He's supposed to get tested every
It's
day
just
with the
this
test
shot
that he
of
can
the
turn
White
around quickly
House.
and know what's going on. Did he do them?
It's like
Did he even
a
use
sick
what's at
old
his
man in
disposal
bed,
that the rest of us are
and the news
desperate
anchor's
for,
yelling at him.
that our kids need in our classes
I
that
saw
he
some
doesn't even
tweet
discuss?
that was like,
No,
you
is
know,
the
poor
answer.
Trump
Why?
just wants
Show
to
us
chill
the
out at
results.
home because he's sick,
doctor.
and the
I don't wanna
news
go
just
back.
showing like bad
Get out of the way.
vibes, talking about how he's gonna die.
Show us the
Right?
results.
Imagine
Show
he
us that
comes
he
across all those
tested negative
wish
on
for
Monday
your death
and
tweets,
Tuesday
man. Jesus,
and Wednesday.
That's hilarious.
Because I'll tell you something. I'm no
Yeah.
doctor. We're about to have Tony Fauci on in the next block. He is.
Good.
But
He
yeah,
deserves
Think
it.
you get sick
Yeah.
the next day after being
All right,
exposed to
let's bring it
somebody?
back so we can
He
wrap
would have
up.
to be so immune compromised.
Are we good?
Yeah, man. We should go.
All right. Well, we appreciate everybody that came in and joined the stream. And for everybody that hasn't seen us before, you can follow us on Twitter at unelectable A. Follow me at _20 Westside, or follow Matt here at DJ Tom Hanks.
What up?
And yeah, we're gonna try to keep up with these live streams, but yeah, we are falling a little bit behind on our main show. But we'll have a main podcast out soon, probably by tomorrow.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna
It's
finish it.
late.
Yeah. Thank
All
God
right.
I listened to
And
it
Matt-
though, because I
Matt's
was
gonna
about
sell
to
you too.
just I was about to just
Post
slap
it.
the song on and publish it, and then I started listening to it, and there was
Yeah.
all those chunks missing.
we're-
So
Yeah, we're still learning the software. We probably need a computer upgrade at some point to get everything working a little bit better. But for now, I think we're in a good place, and we hope that y'all come through more in larger numbers. That'd be preferable, but at least large enough for the copyright strikes to matter. That'd be nice.
yeah, we've
But-
been yeah, we were lucky with Skype though. Like it did pretty good, like compared.
Yeah,
Because I think what it is like the skips on the audio are from like parts where like the computer was like buffering for a second, right? It was like laggy,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah, it has to be something, because once you load it up into YouTube and download it again, it works fine. So, but at any rate, we will continue to try to improve and, we'll fix up the show and start getting better and keep doing these live shows, because I think we're getting pretty good at these already. So, but anyway, Matt, I guess you could go ahead and play us out, and we'll be around next time.
Later.